Welcome to Chromecast, Check It Out. I'm Sam Major, Commercial Director for Krome Technologies, joined once again by Ben Randall, Technical Director.
Hi there, Sam.
So this is a sequel, or backed by popular demand, or whatever you want to call it.
A follow-up, yeah.
Follow-up, that'll do. Based on the video that we did, which if you haven't seen will suddenly appear somewhere
up there
somewhere.
Yeah.
On the how to migrate away from the evil VMware to the wonderful people at Microsoft, using at the time the
SCVMM.
Thank you very much.
System Center Virtual Machine Manager.
Rolls off the tongue, there you go.
Yeah.
Which was actually very popular, and then based on that, had a lot of people come to us going, tell us a bit more, and are there other ways? So the purpose of this today is to cover that. So as usual, I'm going to ask you to give me a few things we're going to cover today, and then we'll jump right into it.
Yeah, sure. So I'd say, first of all, we'll have the why, and why would you not want to use SCVMM and use another, various reasons. Then we'll have a demo of that, and finally we'll have a bit of a summary and talk about what we've learned.
Perfect. Okay. So I guess we need to jump straight into the why, and obviously using SCVMM.
SCVMM.
I'm never getting it right. Obviously works very good, but there are some good reasons as to why Veeam is a better alternative.
Yeah, exactly. SCVMM is a pretty heavyweight thing to install. If you don't have it already, it's a bit of a mission. It worked fine, but if you're already using Veeam, then which is your backup for your VMware environment, which is very common these days, you can just restore straight from that into, or more or less straight from that into Hyper-V.
Which sounds very simple, and as simple and easy as you made the demo we did last time look. The bit people don't see is the build it in the background preparation bit, right?
Exactly.
A bit heavy lifting.
Yeah, I mean, if you've already got Veeam, there's nothing to build, and if you decide to go that way, you want to build that out again, it's not a very heavyweight build.
No, absolutely. And it's not ironic, or it's interesting, I suppose, that we all know Veeam in the early days, it was the new virtual backup software designed for VMware to go and knock the spots off of things like Backup Exec was the big one back in the day, right? But this is just ground up for virtualization, and it's tied heavily to VMware. And now, obviously, they've been working with Microsoft for a while, long time. That works very well, and we're now having a conversation about how you can use Veeam to get away from the thing that butted its bread to start with.
Broadcom have done their thing. Yes, exactly.
Interesting. That's the sign of the times. But yeah, it's interesting. We say it's interesting. We're getting the people come back and saying, are there other ways? Because it's just, to me, it's indicative of that's the direction of travel, right? We're having conversation time and time again. People are getting their VMware renewal quotes and whatnot, and if they weren't doing it then, they are subsequently doing it now.
Come renewal time, they're getting pushed in that direction. It's part of the natural cycle of IT. Things come and go, but this is quite seismic, really. Broadcom have really put the knife into VMware effectively, and so we're getting pushed in that direction. Fortunately, there's a good alternative in Hyper-V.
Yes.
And this is a much easier method to migrate than it was with SCVMM.
And like I say, if you have Veeam already, you kind of quids in, you're good to go. If you don't, you could have, just let us know. But there are other ways of doing it with demo licenses and whatnot, which we probably shouldn't talk about being a partner. But you could be clever in your utilization of it as a migration tool.
Yeah, it enables you to get started fairly quickly and test it, if nothing else.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Well, we've gone over the why. We should probably get into the pre-canned demo, and then you and I can chew it through afterwards. Cool.
Yeah, sure.
Let's go.
Okay, so this should be a fairly brief demonstration of migrating virtual machines from VMware to Hyper-V using Veeam Backup and Replication. I'll give you a very quick guided tour of our demo environment for this. So this is a remote desktop onto one of our Hyper-V servers, where you can see Failover Cluster Manager, which currently has no VMs or roles in there, and Hyper-V Manager, where you can see the two hosts and they have no VMs present at all. So our source VMs are running in VMware. As you can see, I'm logged in here. So we've got a 2008 machine, a 2012 machine, a 2019 machine, and 2022 machine. They each have a share on them, a shared folder, named shared folder, and I've created a file in them which is like just labeled with the OS name. So Server 2022 shared folder has a file called Windows Server 2022. If we go 2008, similarly you can see is Windows Server 2008. So here we have our Veeam console. The first step in this process, I would strongly advise that we actually uninstall the VMware Tools to make sure the VMs. It's possible to remove them later, but it's more trouble, and this just gives a smoother experience. And if you plan this all out, then you know where you're going. So the last thing you do before you shut down the source machines is to uninstall those tools and then back up the machines. So we'll just go through that. So 2008, obviously we go to Control Panel, uninstall, VMware Tools, uninstall, click yes. This will run through. We'll see the graphics driver change and the NIC will disconnect and so on. We'll go back to this in a second, but I'll go through the other machines as well in just the same way. So this is 2019. And 2022. So let's go back to 2008. As you can see, our graphics resolution has dropped. It's asking us for a restart. I'll say no. And we shut down the machine. So, migration. Okay. Same thing for 2012. So no. Just shut it down. (2019). And finally 2022. So they shall be off now. So 2022 is not quite shut down yet. There, it's just gone. So next step is we're done with VMware now. Let's just rerun our backup jobs. So I'll select all of them, start the whole lot of them, and they should start in just a second. This part will take a couple of minutes. You can the way to minimize the amount of time spent on this backup is by making sure that you've got a as recent as possible backup prior to this step. Then the actual backup we're running now will just be an incremental, so you minimize the amount of changes in that, so that reduces the amount of time that backup will take. Obviously, the restore time will vary according to the size of the virtual machines themselves. A very large machine will take longer to transfer the data quite naturally, and I think this is the case with any migration. So this will take a couple of minutes, so I'll be back once this is nearly complete. Right, so you can see these have nearly completed now. It's taken 3 or 4 minutes to go. We're on the last one, is just completing. And once that has run, we'll be able to immediately move into the restore. And you can see that's successfully completed. So to restore, we go to the backups folder and select disk, and we can see the actual backup jobs and the restore points that we've got. So to restore into Hyper-V, we right click on the first one, select instant recovery, and then Hyper-V is the destination. Select that, and here you can see we can actually select the various restore points we've got. We want to stay with the most recent one, so we don't need to individually select them. Let's add the other remaining machines. Let's run back up each time. And if I make this a little bit wider, you should be able to see we've got 28, 2012, 2019, and 2022. Select Next. Now we need to tell them which host or cluster. So just select Host, and we'll restore them all to Hyper-V 1. And we tell it that they are a cluster resource as well. So they're showing as cluster resources now. So next. Now it tries to select the default location. So I'm going to set that for each one. I've already got a folder created for each VM. So we have to go through the cluster storage, VM, so 2008 is 2008 folder, 2012, 2012 folder, 2019 takes the 2019 folder, and last but not least, server 2022 goes into the 2022 folder. So that's all good. Click Next. Network. These are all going to connect to the same network, which in our lab environment is just called LAN. So click OK on that. Next. And I'm going to preserve the unique ID for each of the machines. No need to change that. We'll rename them. No need to worry about content scanning for this purposes of this. Restore reason, migration. And a quick sanity check there. You can see that we've got the settings all correct. We're not going to power on the machines immediately after the restore. You can do that manually. Click Finish. And you can see straight away the jobs are starting to run, the instant recovery jobs. So select on here. We should see, yeah, things getting a bit more busy. Let's select the first of these. You can see progressing through. There will be a request for manual intervention to promote these to production, which is what I'm looking for here. There's an initial restore. As you can see in Hyper-V Manager just back behind here that the VMs themselves have appeared in Hyper-V 1, but they don't appear in the cluster yet. Yeah, so there we go. We've got the waiting for user action. When ready, start migration of VM data production storage. So we close this window, go up to the instant recovery here, and we should see that status. Yeah, so we can select all of these, migrate to production, and we can see in the network throughput here that the restore is starting in earnest now, and the percentage completed is done. So if we go back to Hyper-V, open up that, so we can see the same traffic coming inbound into the Hyper-V machine. Again, this will take a few minutes to do the restores. It's actually the main move of data. You can see it's maxing out our 1 gigabit lab environment network. But you can see the progress is being made. So I will go away and come back shortly when this is almost complete. So you can see the first of the machines is actually completed now. As they complete, they appear in the cluster manager. So I'll start this 2012 machine is the first one. I see 2008 is just completed as well, so I'll start that one too. If I connect to that, you can see that booting. Connect to 2008. Right, and once that comes to the login prompt, I should be able to log in. And we'll likely see the last few bits of the driver installs taking place. There we go, detecting hardware and so on as Windows sorts itself out after the hardware changes. To see the NIC is not yet connected, but that will happen. Right, so that wants to another further restart, so I'll do that. Allow it to detect the finish detecting the hardware and so on. Let's see where the others have got to. Oh, so we've got 2019, 2022 have also completed. So I'll start them. Let's see if we can get into 2012 machine. So 2019. Right, so where are we? We've got 2008. 2012, which I think I saw it saying it wanted a restart, so I'll give that a reboot now. (2022), I'll give that a restart. And 2019. So now if I open a browser and try and go to the shares which we already created, so Windows 2008, hyphen 2008, so the shared folder, Windows Server 2008 file in there. (2012) as a 2012 file. (2019) is also working. And 2022. So they've registered themselves in DNS. It all appears to be working well. And that about wraps it up. That's migration of virtual machines from VMware to Hyper-V using Veeam Backup and Replication.
That does look simpler.
It was a bit simpler, yeah. I mean, it was really good that we were able to do all the machines at the same time, because we had our 2008, our 2012, our 2019, and our 2022 server.
Yep.
Obviously, similar to SCVMM, we had to uninstall the VM, or it's better to uninstall the VMware Tools first, just before shutdown. But there was no kind of having to do them one at a time or anything like that, and there were no considerations. Something that we've run into occasionally is temporary storage on the SCVMM server during the migration. Whereas obviously with Veeam, you've got your backup storage. That's
done.
where your data is already. So that didn't provide any kind of obstacle.
And any limitations anyone needs to be aware of, thinking of scale or anything like that? How would you break it down if someone's got an enormous amount to migrate? Is there anything to be cognizant of in there?
You're obviously going to have to do a full restore of your machine. So there's the time. There's going to be a window. There's going to have to shut down the machine before you bring up the other one, unless literally the machine is transactional and there's no data that needs to be moved. In which case your life is a little bit easier because you could actually restore it in advance and just switch one off and switch the other on.
Sounds far too simple.
Yeah, but yeah, I found it to be a very easy process, and it would be my preferred way of doing this. As
we've said, this is the hot topic. It doesn't seem to be going away, and I think finding simpler ways of doing these is everything, because some people are stuck. The how do I get away, and if we can make that simple for them and give them an easy exit, then
yeah, absolutely,
fantastic. Okay. Any considerations at all you can think of?
Literally, I ran into no real issues at all.
Far too good to be true.
It's definitely, there's something seriously wrong that's going to come back to haunt me in about 6 months, I think. But no, from my point of view, it's, as I say, we've done it in production, actual real migrations, not just lab tests. And I found it to be very easy. It's been a bit of a relief, to be honest.
No, listen, I think that's always nice when IT can be very difficult at times. I think it's nice when you find something that makes it a difficult problem, which is this whole how do I get away from the big VMware renewal in a very easy, elegant way. So finding a good solution for that is fantastic.
And based on it's really good to be able to come back with a second video based on feedback on our earlier demonstration, and come up like, okay, here's what we do, here's the solution to some of those problems.
It's iterative. We're always looking at, you guys do this all day long, and you don't want to make life difficult for yourselves. If we can find a way of making it easier and then pass on that information and make our projects quicker, faster, and better for our clients, then that is what we do. So it's timely that the feedback was, can you give us more that we had, and we were working on that.
Yeah, sure.
I guess take that away from any other videos we've done where people go, actually, has that potentially evolved? Because we've done this for a while now. There may be subjects historically people go, oh, is that still current? What's changed? What's evolved? So people should feel free to give us that feedback again on any of the other videos we've done.
Yeah.
Cool. Listen, Ben, thank you for taking time for doing that.
Well, thank you.
Cool.
It's been fun.
It's always fun. And thank you for joining us on this episode of Chromecast. Check it out. As we've just said, anything you'd like Ben to go back and trace our ground and redo, please do leave that in the comment section below, and we'll certainly give it some thought. Cool. Join us again next time on Chromecast. Check it out.